Welcome to the Going North podcast, where you will be informed, encouraged, and empowered to embrace your dreams and advance in life through authorship. I'm your host, best-selling author of the book Stay the Course, and certified leadership trainer, Dom Brightman. Be sure to check out the goods and services from every guest, as well as the host himself, yours truly. Now let the fun begin. Today's episode is sponsored by the book that will empower you, encourage you, and through its expression help you to advance to your next level. Stay the Course, The Elite Performers, 7 Secret Keys to Sustainable Success by this guy right here you're hearing. And the good news is you can now hear the book on audiobook. So head over to Amazon.com or Audible.com or Apple Music, pick up the audiobook. And that's today's sponsor. Go out and buy a copy or a few of Stay the Course, The Elite Performers, 7 Secret Keys to Sustainable Success, and advance north to your next level of greatness. And today on the highlight reel, builder for authors known as GMP, the great, glorious, and glamorous, is the Going North podcast. And we're back at you again with another super special, awesome human. And to put the icing on the cake, my man's all the way from Australia, baby. So my man is podcasting from the future, baby. That's right. Friday my time, Saturday his time. But hey, it doesn't matter about the time you hear this, because today's guest, my goodness, not only is he from Australia, he is a proven, folks, a proven under fire, seasoned business veteran, y'all. That's right. My man's been under fire, but he is still alive today, helping folks get to their next level, folks. And not only that, he's the most trusted, you heard that right, folks, the most trusted business mentor on the inner game of success. And what helped him to get to this point is after 32 years of entrepreneurial ups and downs, nearly being wiped out in that wonderful time of 2008 when that global financial crash happened, he was able to come out alive and became a wonderful, transformed, powerful leader. So let's give it up for the one, the only TM himself. The TM himself, the terrific and the wonderful, marvelous Torrin Minutillo. How you doing today, Torrin?
Excellent, Don. What a great introduction. I feel like I'm about to get into a boxing ring. We just need the Rocky music going in the background, and we'll have a complete. So thanks, and appreciate the opportunity. I'd love to have a chat.
Oh yeah, man, definitely. A man's done a lot in this wonderful planet, and the good news is it's only the beginning. There's a lot more decades that await.
Absolutely.
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. So, my goodness, man, like with all introductions not allowed to be 72 days long. And if I'm not mistaken, you actually started as an entrepreneur when you were 24, right?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, way back. That was pre-mobile phones and pre-internet, when you had to pick up the phone off the wall and call someone, which is very foreign to a lot of people these days. So, yeah, long time ago. 57 now, so 32 odd years ago. Yep.
Oh, man, congrats, man. So, 32 years of successful business, man. If I'm not mistaken, I think you had about, well, funny enough, you actually started in the video rental industry, and now it's like you've actually, I think you had you started and sold 8 businesses so far, 8 enterprises so far.
Yeah, so the first probably 17, 18 years of my business journey was very much of building, selling, starting, ending, some successfully, some not so successfully. So I did a lot of transition, if you like, from one business to another. And it wasn't until year 2000 when I got into real estate. And that was the 7th enterprise. Now I'm now got a coaching business as well, which is my 8th, but that was my 7th enterprise. And yeah, I really got stuck into real estate. That became the place for me to bed down my roots as a business person and try and make some difference to my own world and the people around me in my world. And that's been continuing on. So to this day, I'm now 22 years in real estate. I've got a real estate company that I still nurture and work with, but my passion at the moment is helping other people achieve their pathway on their business life journey. And I've been doing that this will be my 4th year now, actively helping people. But prior to that, a lot of nurturing and mentoring prior to that with other business owners. So, and that's all come out of my journey and you alluded to it before, that I had a bit of a hiccup in 2008 when the global financial crisis punched us all in the face a bit. But I was able to recover, get back off the canvas, and actually now I'm much better off for the experience. And I look back at that period as a good thing that happened in my life rather than a bad thing.
Oh yeah, definitely say that again. And builds up resilience, like builds up that resilience muscle indeed, and probably leads to having more stories to share that you probably penned in your wonderful book. So my goodness, did you ever think you'd get to where you are at the age of 13? Was entrepreneurship like always in your wheelhouse at all?
No, I didn't. um, Look, I did. I had aspirations to be something worthwhile, for want of a better way of putting it, or certainly achieve. But I think, my journey is one of personal development and personal growth. And in those early years in business, which I've now, done a lot of study around this to understand that area of your life, sort of say the 30 to 40 is very much what discovering of where you want to be and what you want to do. And there's a lot of things you don't know. So there's a great phrase that, you don't know what you don't know until someone shows you or you learn. And on reflection, I was very underprepared for what was to come through there. But that's one of the challenges when you want to be an entrepreneur. And I look at business journey as really a life journey, as just an arena of your life. I don't necessarily think that a business life is different to any other life, part of your life. It's just that if you decide to go down that entrepreneurial pathway, and anybody's working life is the biggest arena of their life. You spend most waking hours thinking about your work, and if you're an entrepreneur, you think more than just that 30 or 40 hours that you're engaged. You're probably working for 30 or 40, maybe 50 hours, but you're probably thinking about it for another 20 odd hours. So it becomes the biggest arena of your life and of what you're trying to achieve and succeed in. So that means that there's a lot of personal stuff that's going on as well, a lot of conversations that you have in your own head. I believe that 80% of the conversations that we have are with ourselves. So we've got to get to know ourselves, because we're talking to ourselves a lot. So, and that requires self-awareness, which I believe is one of the best skills you can have as a business person or an entrepreneur. So I help people evolve themselves now to do this sort of stuff. So that was a long-winded way of telling you, Dom, that what I knew about business back in my 30s is completely different to what I know now.
Oh yeah, I definitely can imagine. Like that's the thing. It'll be interesting. It's like, oh yeah, at 30 I thought this way, but hey, 56 I'm thinking the same exact way. It's freaking amazing. Yeah, I'm doing good. No growth at all. Woo! Like I wouldn't expect that from you at all.
well, I can't remember who said this, but we're either growing and ripening, or we're rotting. There's no in between. So so we're all on a growth path. There's just some quicker than others and some stagnant. And but yeah, it's a constant process of evolving yourself if you want to improve wherever it is you are today. Of course, some people get to this place where they're very content, which is good too.
Yeah, you can say that again. And I also love what you said about self-awareness. And that's one of the biggest reasons why I have you on the show today, because my goodness, like the inner game, man, like that's the biggest real game. Because the thing is, like, if the interior isn't right, the exterior is gonna show, and it's gonna be bad for both of you. So my goodness, man. So how is that developing, that process like? In mind sharing a bit more of what that process entails for the folks listening?
Yeah, so I suppose the first thing I would say, and what I've tried to articulate in my book, is that getting a distinction, firstly, between what is your inner game and what is your outer game. And most people will observe in themselves and other people around them their outer game, but they don't. And I've used these terminologies just for a distinction more than anything. There's other terminologies that can be used, but your inside voice, how you're showing up. You mentioned resilience before. All those things form your inner game, who you are. What I've come to understand and learn is, if you start to understand the distinction between who you are internally and how you're showing up and what's happening to you on your day-to-day basis, will have a huge impact on your external, outer game. So if you relate this back from a business journey, is that most business owners would focus mostly on their outer game, on what their customers and clients get to see, their persona, who they are, how they show up, their marketing message, how they interact with their clients, the customer journey. That's all the outer game. But the inner game is very much who you are and what's causing your thinking to be the way it is, what your conditioning, your belief system, your value systems. They're all your inner game. And I don't think we pay enough attention to that, to understand how can I shape that better to get better developed personally so that I can perform better in the outer world, in the outer game. Because if you're trying to achieve something, it's the impact with other people that's going to matter, that power of connection, which is one of the chapters in the book. And for you to be able to connect with the outside world, your outer game, or the people that you're trying to influence to help, then you really need to have a great understanding of who you are. So I think for me, the whole self-awareness conversation is a continual development, like forever. It's not a place that you arrive on and go, right, I've got this now. It's forever learning. And I think the people, even the smartest people on the planet, if we want to, categorize that way, they are constantly learning. That's why they're the smartest people on the planet. They never reach a place and go, right, I'm here. Hello, I'm the smartest person. It's an evolving process. So I think it's really understanding that distinction. That's your first place. So awareness, right? So this comes back to self-awareness. So the first thing I would say to anybody who's listening is to really get clear about what's the difference between your inner game and what's the difference between your outer game, and get that distinction. That creates some awareness. You then need to accept how you are externally and how you are internally before you can take some action to move to whatever it is you want to move to. So awareness is difficult, but even more difficult is the acceptance of that awareness. So that becomes our challenge, because we get resistant and get in denial about who we are internally, which then shows up externally. And so when you get, I know we're going a little bit deep here, pretty quick here, Dom, but
it's all good. Go deep, man. Get that shovel out, man.
Got the pick and shovel getting down now. But yeah, so I suppose without getting too deep, but I love to go deep because I think that's where the gold is, literally, metaphorically, and literally, is that when you work on yourself. And this is a long life process, right? So it's not like, okay, I'll get this sorted out in the next 2 weeks, right? This is a continuous process. And the way I like to describe it to people is that it's the foundation of who you are and what your business journey is going to be, if that's your arena of your life, or it could be whatever your purpose or your field of endeavor it is. I'm just relating this back to business because I help business owners, but I'm a business life coach, right? So I help people in their life navigate the business world, but there's a whole lot of life that's going on while you're trying to manage a business. So you need to tie the two together to get what you really, really want, is how I see it and how I help people evolve. So as I said, the starting point is just that distinction, becoming aware. Then the process is to accept what maybe you need to develop and work on. And then you need to create an action plan of what you're going to do, which then creates your conditioning, your habits, and you move forward. So my book, which is The Essential Inner Game, is what I've called it, is really just 10 guiding principles and insights that, as a starting place to go, okay, well, there's 10 things here that if you're looking for a starting point, here's an opportunity for you to think about these things. And the way I wrote it and pulled it together was that they're 10 standalone principles. They're not necessarily one needs to flow into the next. They just stand alone. So for you as an individual who's reading it, you might go, well, there's 2 here that really resonate with me, and I'm going to work on those. And then someone else will read it and they'll see maybe 1 or 2 others that resonate with them based on where they're at on their development. And the beautiful thing is that we're all on a different pathway, a different journey along this personal development. And I think I like to call it psychological development. Because I think that's what's happening, is that you're developing psychologically along your life journey. And so if you understand a distinction between who you are internally versus who you are externally, you can help get people drawn towards you. You can understand people better. So this is one of the things that comes out of a self-awareness journey, is that when you learn more about yourself at a deeper level, you start to understand the people around you better at a deeper level, which makes it a lot easier to connect with people, to understand what it is that you're trying, because we hear all of us are on the earth really to be connected with other people. So yeah, so I think that having that distinction and having, so there's a bit of a background to why self-awareness is important for all of us, but particularly important for a business owner, an entrepreneur who wants to build an enterprise to get whatever it is they're trying to achieve.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. Achievement indeed. Achieve indeed. I love what you said there about the wonderful self-awareness and the next level really being acceptance, because that's the that's the other thing I never even thought of considering. Because it's like, yeah, you can be aware all day, but if you don't accept what you gain from that awareness, then it's like how you're gonna really move to your next level. So would that be like, I guess, and would that be like one of the 10 steps in the book is just really acceptance?
Um, Not in this book, because this book was sort of designed just to, let's give you 10 ideas or insights to work with. But the program, or how I help, my structure of how I help people is 5 A's. So the first one is awareness, second one is acceptance, the third one is action, the fourth one is assistance, because you always need help, and then the fifth one is assessment. And when you do that assessment on that action you take, creates more awareness, which then you accept that, and got this nice circle that goes on. So how to help people through a pathway is very much like, let's get awareness about where you are now, how you got to this place, because that's important. And then are you accepting that this is where you're at? And then we will discover some actions that need to take place. And some might be just a simple, let's just shift one or two things incrementally. And then we need some assistance. So whether it's you, the people around you, as a coach, obviously you can assist someone. And then we assess that and go, okay, what's the change? What's happened? That creates new awareness. Ideally, from a person who's trying to develop, when they take the fifth A and they assess what's changed for them, then they get fueled about what it is they need to do, and that creates more awareness. So you get into this nice rhythm of continual awareness, accepting, taking action. Who do I need to assist me? Sometimes it's just, go and read a book, listen to podcasts, get some coaching, have significant other people in your life that might assist you through a process. So the point being is that assistance is, don't try and do this on your own. Get some other help in you, and then become like aware of, okay, what's the assessment? How have I improved? Because it's always good to know the best person you can judge yourself against is yourself. So where you were 6 months ago to where you were 3 months ago to where you are now, if you can see some improvement and evolving, it doesn't matter what anybody else on the planet is evolving to, as long as you are evolving. Because what most of us do is chase what other people and trying to reach their ideals, and we forget about who we are as we're growing. And we're chasing this exterior. This is this outer game. I want to be like Dom. I want to be like Torrin. I want to be like Elon Musk. I want to be like whoever. And you're chasing this external outer game, which is not you. So you can't be like anybody else because everybody else is taken. You can only be like you. So the awareness process is part of what all the chapters of the book are, is to bring awareness to these individual insights and guidance. And then if you recognize these things in yourself, okay, so then it becomes an acceptance. And then in the book, I sort of, at each end of each chapter, make some dot points about, here's 3 things that you might be able to do based on this insight and this guiding principle. So that gives you some action. I mean, the rest of it, you have, from reading a book, you need to do the assisting yourself. And then, then you need to do an assessment on yourself and see how you're improving with yourself, and how is it showing up in your life, and how is it making things better. And I think what happens is that when we evolve and we see the progress, it fuels us to do it more. And that's exactly what happened to me, is that when I evolved out of the financial crisis, and I started looking inwardly and I started learning about myself and how I was getting my results, that fueled me to go deeper into this, to understand human behavior at a deeper level. And that just, let me on this pathway evolving myself and in understanding people around me better. That helped me in my business, in my communication, in my relationships, just everywhere. And so it sort of became almost like a self-fulfilling thing, is that when you go deeper and you learn about yourself, and sometimes it's difficult, right? So I've helped a lot of people. It's like one of the reasons we don't want to do it because it's painful, you know, and our brain is built to move away from pain and move towards pleasure. So you,
it's true.
So sometimes the self-awareness journey could be a little bit difficult in the first. In fact, I would argue that potentially is going to be difficult in the first instance. But when you accept and you go, okay, this is who I am, and is the question I always like to ask, Dom, is, is it serving you? Not is it good or bad or right or wrong, but how is it serving you? And if you honestly answer that the way things are at the moment, it's not serving me, well, then we need to shift and make some change. But to ask yourself, or am I doing the right thing or the wrong thing? Am I good or bad? Is potentially the wrong question. The better question to ask is, how is it serving you? And if you think deeply about that, and the answer is, well, it's not serving me, then you need to start thinking about making some shifts and change. And the only person who can do it is you. And it's, it's not easy, because that self-awareness could be from a bit of trauma or some painful past or things that you don't want to go and confront. So then this creates all these habits and conditioning to avoid that, which creates avoidance, and you don't end up getting what you want in life. And so I bring all that to a business life journey. And because, like most people who work for an employer, like another business, and I'll say most, because I think there's a variance on that, is they're able to go to work Monday morning, let's say, finish Friday afternoon, if that's what their routine is, and then they're able to switch off evenings and weekends and move forward. But if you're an entrepreneur and you're a business owner, unless you get really well self-developed and you know exactly where you're at, how things are going, it's very hard to switch off. And so and the reason is because you've got so many things going on external that you need to fix, or you believe you do. And depending on your personality, you might be someone who micromanages everything. So that creates essentially a personality of neuroticism that which creates all these other areas of your life, which can be things. So this is all part of becoming fully aware of who you are and how you're showing up. And so the essential in the game, you need to think internally about who you are and how you're showing up. And as I said, I talk about this from a business perspective, but this is anybody needs to do this.
Oh yeah, definitely could say that again. Definitely could say that again, indeed. And even though it's not a part of the book, I do love those 5 A's though, because my goodness, awareness and acceptance, then actions. Like, okay, action. I love this flow. And then assistance. It's like, hey, like we need help here. Like you can't just be a solopreneur like all your life and do everything by yourself, because it's just not really humanly possible. After a while, you're gonna get sick of doing certain things, and it's like, hey, if you're your own accountant and you're not a numbers person, that's a bad idea. You gotta really delegate like stuff that you're not good at so you can shine. And then at the end of the day is really like going back and checking in, like saying, oh, okay, cool. So what's working, what's not working, and then just plowing ahead. And I guess in a way, it could kind of reset itself in a way where you start through the process again, depending on what they're using the 5 A's for.
Yeah, correct. Yeah, and I think one of the chapters is about long term versus short term, which is the last chapter in the book. And most of people in business life and in life in general have a very short term view of what they need to do in the next 1 to 3 months. It's like, just what's in front of me, and I'll deal with that. What's in front of me, I'll deal with that. And you do need to do that, but you need to have, what's the horizon look like? What's the 6 to 12 to 18 months, the 24 months going to look like? When you bring some awareness to that and you accept that, okay, the reason I'm not, getting financial stability, or the reason I'm not, I've got this consistent zigzag pathway, is because you're not thinking about where am I going to be in 6 to 12 to 18 months based on the action I take now. So I have this firm belief, and I help people understand, is that the things that you do between now and the next 90 days will show up in 6 months to 12 months. So the actions that you take, the changes that you make, they won't instantly show up. And we're looking for this constant gratification of, I want to do something Monday and have a result Friday. It's about consistently doing something that is good for you. And most of us when you get questioned, know what's good for you. But it's the habit of trying to do the action consistently with discipline that's going to give you the result, right? So if you start shifting your mindset to say, okay, whatever I do in the next 90 days and trusting the fact that if I can stay consistent with that, it's going to show up in my life in 6 months. I'm saying 6 to 12, but it could come earlier. But it's about a patience game. And that's that long-term view. And when I say long-term, I'm not talking 5 to 15 years in the distance. I'm talking about 6 to 12 to 18 months in the distance. And a lot of particularly small to medium-sized business owners have this very short horizon of, I need to get my results sorted in the next 1 to 3 months because I'm not going to survive. And this comes back to a self-awareness of who they are, and are they cut out for an entrepreneurial pathway if they've got this mindset, or can they shift their mindset to get the entrepreneurial pathway they want? So, I will harp on about it, but it all comes back to who you are, becoming very self-aware. And that's a journey in itself, right? So I would say to any person who's considering any coaching is to sort of put aside literally 90 days to really understand and get deep about that. And then when you got that, you can then launch from there. And then you keep building on that self-awareness journey. So, the metaphors, I like to use sort of metaphors because people can understand that. It's like a pyramid. So the base of the pyramid is what it gives its strength to stay up. That's why the pyramids have been in Egypt for, I don't know how many thousands of years, Dom, but they've been there a while.
Right? Yeah, man.
And what most business owners and people build is a V-shaped life where everything's at the top, but there's no foundation. And what happens is as soon as some instability comes, whether it be a COVID, or a global financial crisis, or whether it be just life circumstances that things happen, if you've got a V-shaped business, it'll fall over quickly, and then you spend a lot of energy and time trying to straighten it up. But if you're building a pyramid and you're consistently adding to your base through self-awareness of who you are and how you're getting your results, and really keep refining and tuning that, when the storm comes, you'll stay fine. Yeah, you'll have that resilience built up to be able to withstand that. So my personal journey is that when I was blaming for 2 or 3 years the global financial crisis, the external world, how did this happen to me? Why wasn't I better prepared? All this sort of stuff. But on reflection, what I've understood is it wasn't about the global financial crisis. It was about, I didn't have a pyramid. I had a V-shaped business. So I didn't know that at the time, and I didn't articulate that at the time. I didn't wake up one morning and go, oh, that's what's going on here. It took me probably 2 or 3 years of self-assessment, understanding, reading, learning, getting assistance. And as I evolved out of that, my growth, my results, my achievements, my fulfillment went through the roof. And now it's like, then what happens is you get to a point where it's exponential growth. Is that as you build a bigger base and you build this pyramid, the growth goes much wider and quicker. And I think what happens is if you think about your business and life journey in that form, and you understand of building that base consistently, and unlike a pyramid, the structure, or even a solid building, you only get one chance to build that foundation. So like if you're building a building, a house, a 2-story house, whatever it is, a skyscraper, you only get one chance to build that foundation, because if you don't get it right, cracks will appear pretty quickly and the building will fall over. With your own life and your own business journey, you get to build that foundation consistently every day, and you can improve on that foundation to make this stronger, solid base to build your life on, to build your entrepreneurial life on, so that you've got a very wide, strong base, and it shapes like a pyramid, shapes into a pointy. So you're getting very narrow focus. So I don't know how many times I've heard the highest performers on the planet say that one of the keys is that they've narrowed their focus to what's been so important that's given them the edge. So in other words, don't be everything to everybody, be specialists. So when you go and see your doctor who's a heart specialist, he won't be able to tell you how to fix your toenails, but he'll be able to tell you what's going on in your heart. And so the point being is that as a solid base to a point of what are you a specialist in, what can you help people the most in, that's one of the keys of a lot of successful people. I won't say the success, but when you hear stories and you hear of a lot of entrepreneurs who have done great things, these are the things that show up consistently, is that they've become very niche in what they do or what their service or what their business offers. And this is about building a pyramid, a very solid base with a very pointy top that goes exactly to where it needs to hit. So there's a bit of wisdom in there from ancient times of how they build buildings back then.
That's right. So you heard that right, folks. Get your pyramid scheme ready, y'all. That's right. That's right.
I wouldn't go that far. different metaphor, Don.
My corny mind couldn't resist. Like, oh, it's a pyramid scheme. You recruit 3 people, and then they recruit 3 people. Like, let's do this thing, baby. I was messing with you, but nah.
Look, in a strange sort of way, that's why that works.
Yeah,
you're constantly building your base.
That's right. That client base, indeed. That's right, indeed, man. But that is definitely a jewel right there, V-shaped life, because in all seriousness, like, that's a solid metaphor for life, because it's like, hey, and heck, even for those who've done a V-sit before, it hurts like hell, at least from my perspective. So it's like, hey, you don't want to be having a V-shaped life. You definitely want to build a pyramid in a good way and actually have a solid base, a solid foundation, because you're so right. Heck, even a lot of businesses, like during COVID, like a lot of them, they had to furlough their employees because they were making just enough just to pay them. They were living paycheck to paycheck themselves, and their staff are living paycheck to paycheck themselves for the most part. And it's like, if both are doing that, and it's like, oh, global crisis, we gonna die for real. It's like, oh, darn. Well, I guess I have to make sure I have a stronger foundation next time.
Yeah, and look, and I think you're 100% right on that. Is that the reflection a lot of business owners are having in this last 12 to 24 months through COVID, worldwide, is like the ones that have thrived and survived through it are the ones that have had the stronger foundation and the courage to push through to make the decisions they need to do. But if you've got a V-shaped business and something like COVID comes along and outside your control, you'll remember this is outside your control, and let's call it that it's bad luck. Then luck is always going to come. So when you build a pyramid, when the good luck comes, you're well established to take advantage of that good luck. When bad luck comes, you're well established to mitigate against that luck. Right. So this is another thing, is that if you've got a V-shaped business, yes, you might take advantage of the good luck when it comes, because you've got all this stuff coming in at the top. But as soon as it shifts, you don't have that stability to mitigate against that bad luck. And that's basically what's showing up in most businesses that are struggling through the COVID crisis. Now, I'm not saying that there's some good businesses, good business owners, good people that are struggling. So I don't want to reflect and say that, because this is a total out of your control. This is like the GFC going back, or the global financial crisis. It's a punch in the face that nobody was expecting that was coming. So you couldn't plan for it the year before. But what you can plan for is, are you consistently building your base? Are you consistently building a pyramid? Is that your 10 to 12 to 20 year view of what you need to do as a business entrepreneur? Because if you follow, any algorithms of what happens in business, is that it fluctuates. Circumstances change, economies change. Countries invade other countries and causes disruption to global financial markets. And, so 6 months ago, you wouldn't have thought, okay, that's going to be something I need to deal with on the horizon, but more solid and more. And so you have got full control of becoming self-aware. Who do I need to become? So this is the key thing, is like this. I look at 3 categories of business growth, but life growth in general. Is like you can grow to do more, you can grow to achieve more, or you can grow to become more. I would say most business owners, particularly small to medium enterprises, they focus on growth just to do more. They just want to do more, do more, do more. But what they really want is, they want to achieve more. They want to go to their enterprises. They want to achieve more. And the way to achieve more is to become more. is to become someone else that you need to become for that enterprise. And that is through self-development, building the pyramid, understanding who you are, why you get your results you do, why you don't get the results that you want. This is just all a self-awareness development process. And if you think about those 5 A's, the fourth one, assistance. Who do you need to help you along that way? Even if it's just, finding the top podcasts that you want to listen to, the 3 or 4, and you religiously spend time on listening to those. And I would recommend this one, of course, Dom, as one of yours. Or you become or you become a voracious audio book listener or reader. Or, like if you want to read books about, self-development or, business, whatever it is, whatever the field of endeavor of your life is, the point is that you need to learn more before you can start taking action on it. And then be prepared that struggle is part of it. In fact, that's one of the chapters, is struggle is the way. So there's always a struggle pathway. So in fact, the way we've got to look at struggle is that it's not a barrier in the way of where we want to get to. Struggle and obstacles is actually the pathway. That is the pathway. It's about overcoming these struggles and obstacles forms the pathway. But most of us view them as, well, that's a barrier I've got to get over, around, or avoid. But when you look at struggle as one of your mindset that, yes, I'm going to have struggles. My job is, how do I respond to those struggles and how do I develop myself better so that I can move through them? And then as you do that consistently, you become much better at handling the struggles that show up, certainly in an entrepreneurial business life.
Oh yeah, that's what I'm talking
We just about covered all the chapters in our conversation, Dom, in a roundabout way.
That's right indeed. That's right indeed. That's how you bounce. That's right. You go roundabout.
That's good.
Oh man. So with all these wonderful setbacks in life, like with entrepreneurship and all these lessons you've acquired over the years and have been coaching others to avoid, is there, well, besides the 2008 global collapse, like what was probably like one of the biggest setbacks that actually led to one of your greatest victories?
Good question. I don't know if it's a setback or, like I view back at that whole period, because it wasn't, for me, that was a 3-year period. That was 2008 through to 2011 of, some pretty dark times and some struggles, and so trying to really understand why did I, my first questions was, how did I get here? What happened? And which I'm sure a lot of people, when they have a struggle, is they go, that it's self-reflection is, how did this happen to me? I thought I was smarter. I thought I was better prepared, and that was sort of the questions I was asking. But, I started to learn that they were the wrong questions, and I needed to ask better questions to get better answers. So I don't have one defining thing. I just look back at that now and understand that was probably a gift, that whole period. And this is something that I really get people to buy into and understand, is that whenever we reflect back on a bad situation in our life, whether it's financial, whether it's health and well-being, or whether, investment, relationships, and there's something that hasn't gone well, there's a gift in that. And so there's 2 wisdoms here. One is to realize and look at what that wisdom is. What's that gift? When you get really self-developed, and I like to think I'm getting to this point now, is to actually see the gift when you're in it. When you're in that struggle, when you're in that obstacle, go, there's a gift here. I just need to figure out what it is. And then I'm going to use it for my advantage to serve me well. That's the key, right? Well, how is this problem, this obstacle that I've overcome, serving me well? And most people will reflect on bad times in their life, whatever they were, in a way, obviously down the track, maybe 1 year, 2 years, 10 years, they'll look back and go, well, actually, that was good for me for my development. I didn't like it. It was painful at the time. Certainly my 2 to 3 year period was very painful because I felt the whole world was crumbling around me and I didn't have control. And one of the things that we all want is control in our lives of where we're going. It's an innate desire for all of us. And when we don't have it, we feel, agitated. We feel not good about who we are. We don't feel good. So I think, it's about, the gift. Where's the gift in it? If you think about it that way, and I know it's, not most people listening to this go, well, there's no gift in the fact that my relationship went really horrible, or I lost all this money, or I made this bad decision. But the truth is that there is a gift in it, because you should, if you explore, you'll learn something out of that, which will hold you in good stead going forward. And that's that whole self-awareness, psychological development. We need these things in our life to learn lessons that's going to help us navigate our life going forward. If it was all just tiptoeing through the tulips and everything was all fine, you'd probably have a boring life, and you'd probably wouldn't be happy anyway with that. So yeah, we've got to have some downtimes. It's like the whole valley, peak of the mountain. When you're in the valley, it's hard to see the peak, and when you're in the peak, it's hard to believe you're ever going to get back in the valley, right?
Yep.
But if you work through those valleys and you're well prepared, and you've got this pyramid, let's call it that, it's easy to get. It's not easy. It's you can get back up to those peaks of your life a lot more consistently and quicker, without that stress, without that anxiety, without that, that constant chatter in your mind of why things aren't working out. I don't know. Did I answer your question, Dom? I'm not sure if I did, but hopefully I did.
Oh yeah, that's right. Just got to think about Christmas, y'all. Like, think of the gifts. That's right. That's right. Think of the gifts. Indeed. That's right. Think of the gifts. And sometimes food can be gifts too. So speaking of food, if your wonderful book, The Essential Inner Game, was a food item, what would it be and why?
Ooh, now there's a good question. What would it be and why? So what you're saying is, how do I relate this to my favorite food? Well, being of Italian heritage, and grew up in an Italian family here in Australia, immigrants from Italy, I'm very tied to my Italian culture and heritage. So a lot of my favorite foods surround about Italian food. So yeah, unfortunately for me, pasta is one of the things I like the best. So maybe the essential in the game is like nourishing your soul with a good plate of pasta is probably my answer, Dom. And I think, I just touched on the word soul. I think that's worth mentioning. I think we build a life in our first half of our life, so the first 0 to 40 years, which is generally your first half of your life. And second, based on statistical data, that we have a life expectancy in developed worlds of sort of between 80 and 85. So let's just run it to 80. And the first half is up to 40, and the second half from 40 onwards. And I think it's in the second half of our life that I've discovered about myself, and a lot of study that I've done around this, is that we try and create this status and this persona of who we think we need to be to achieve in that first half. And then the second half, we spend time trying to realign ourselves with our soul, what our purpose really is and who we really are and what we want to achieve. So, and, I do one of my things going forward, and another book that I'm working on is about that early phase of the second half. So that 40 to 50, what happens to us? How do we evolve? And what I've come to understand is this search to get back to our soul. We all got a soul, and everybody can relate to what is your soul? So when I would ask someone like you, Dom, it's like, do you understand? Do you have a soul? And I think most people on the planet will say, yes, I do. It's in our culture that there is a soul within us. But I think we spend the first half of our life sort of trying to figure out what it is we need to be, who we need to be within the world. And in the second half of our life, and some people come to that late, and some people that come to that early, some people come to that into their 20s and 30s. They really get attuned with their soul, and they go, this is what gives me fulfillment. But a lot of people, and particularly an entrepreneurial person who's trying to strive with status and things, that ego, all those types of things, it shifts us away from what nourishes our soul. And food is one of the things that we often say, this nourishes my soul, having this favorite food. So we got a connection to our soul, but we don't go and explore it enough to understand what is it that's going to fulfill me, that's aligned with my soul, which I believe that's my definition of success, is that when you can get aligned with fulfillment of your soul, whatever that is for you. So I think what happens is, how we develop psychologically, is that it's not until we get into our 40s and our 50s that we start to question this stuff in our life journey, because we can start to see now we're getting towards this retirement or this whatever looks like towards the end of our life, as opposed to we've got already now 40 years of experience. So you've got, plenty of ups and downs. You've been through plenty of valleys, hopefully through some peaks. And most people, I always say most because it's not 100% foolproof. People will, and I think if, people listening to this are going, what is it that's agitating me in my 40s and 50s? It's that. I believe it's that. It's like you're trying to align back to what your soul says you should or shouldn't be doing. And depending on how much trauma you've had in your life and what's happened to you as a child and the upbringing, there's a whole lot of other things that come into it, of course, will impact that. But I think the point is that you start to question it. And from a business life journey, this is a time in your 40s. And for me, coincidentally, the global financial crisis hit me when I was 44. But when I look back now, it's like that was just a signpost. That was external circumstances. That was just external circumstances that happened. And it's easy, like I know now when I reflect back that there was a whole lot of other things that were going on that I was questioning of who I am and what I was trying to achieve and where I was going and what was I here for and how do I help people and all these questions. And it was for me. So now I've done the full thing. Is like I'm now coaching people. I'm helping them through this thing because that's what's nourishing my soul, is to actually help other people thrive and get fulfillment out of their life. And part of fulfillment is getting, achievements along the way. So achievements are a finite thing. Fulfillment is your being, who you are, how you aligning to what it is that you want to do. So there's a distinction between those two as well. So yeah, the essential in the game of nourishing your soul.
Yes, indeed. That's right. So get that plate of pasta, y'all. That's right. That's right. Indeed. Get that plate of pasta, y'all. Forget the plate. Get the whole pot of pasta, y'all. That's right. Get a whole.
Unfortunately, that often happens.
There you go. Hey, that mess fills you up. It's good, man. Shoot. Pasta's amazing. Man. So we're coming down to the magical question that every guest gets to receive, and that is if you're to wake up tomorrow and you're 25 again, but you're in 2022 with all of your knowledge and experience, what advice would you give to yourself?
Damn good question. I think be patient. Certainly for me, I'm not saying this for everybody. So if I think about my life journey, I was probably impatient, and which meant I got trapped into that short-term view versus long-term view. I didn't have a longer horizon view, and I think I know now that that's what got me into trouble in the global financial crisis. I wasn't prepared for it. If I had to single one thing out, it was that I only had a 1 to 3 month horizon at any given time, and I had this belief that things would just work out. Just keep doing the work, just keep showing up, just keep being, good to other people, keep serving people. But I didn't have that pyramid base. So my advice to my 25-year-old is now that I'm, 30 odd years forward of that, is to think about building a base. That life is a lot easier when you've got a solid base. And sometimes that's making tough decisions or doing things that you don't really want to do. So I think that would be it, Dom. It's like think about building a long-term solid base, and as you evolve through life, the dips become a lot smoother. You don't get into those deep valleys for long periods of time, or when you do, you're able to get out of them much quicker.
Yeah, that's right indeed. That's right indeed. That's right indeed. That patience indeed. That's right. That's right indeed. Helps out a lot. Helps out a lot indeed, especially when it's like, oh, I want to get it done now. It's like, nah, just wait a bit. And then you find out that deal would have made you freaking more broke than ever. So it's like, patience. It worked out. It all worked out.
And just relating back to that is that, a great saying, again, can't remember who said it, but it's like we underestimate what we can achieve in the long term, and we overestimate what we can achieve in the short term. So we're constantly overestimating, well, I can get this all sorted and done and I'll make lots of money in the next 3 to 6 months or 12 months. But we underestimate through an accumulative effect, dare I say, chapter number 8, accumulative effect, and how that is a basic principle of if you just keep doing the right things, trusting in yourself, it becomes easier, and then you build this base and you get this exponential growth. I think that's the key thing, is that you don't get exponential growth in anything you're doing until you've got a solid base. And in all different businesses, there's a different metric to that. But most people will report back as when they took them, let's say just use a monetary metric from 0 to 500,000 turnover, it might take them 5 years. But to go from 500 to 1 million, it might only take them another year. It's because you get that base and you've got this now exponential growth that happens. And it's the key is building that solid base and the accumulative effect of all doing all the right things. And from a referral base, or whether it's your marketing, your branding, that's what happens. Over a period of time, you become more, but you need to stay consistent. You can't expect short-term results all the time that's going to fulfill you. You need to be patient. So it sort of, it all ties in with that. But so, yeah, there's a lot to learn, isn't there? And the more I learn, the more I realize I don't know.
Oh, that is so true indeed. So true indeed. That's the black belt mentality right there. It's like, oh yeah, 10th degree black belt. Oh shoot, that means I got more to learn. That's right, got to build on that foundation. That's right indeed. So for those who need to learn more about you and what you do and keep up with all the stuff that you're doing, heck, even with your future books as well, what's the best way for folks to do so, Torrin?
Well, I think there's two ways. Thanks, Dom. I'm quite active on LinkedIn. For me, I'm a business to business type person, so that's the place for me. And I love connecting with other business owners on LinkedIn. So if you see me, and I've got videos that come up, and try and feed that place. But my website, my business, and his name is Attergy, so it's ATTERGY. It's a made up word of attitude and energy. So I believe they're the two foundational blocks of doing anything. So I've named my business that. So if anybody goes to my website, attergy.com, the book that we've been talking about, The Essential in the Game, is available complimentary on there. So you just need to put some details in there, and I'll send you a real book, not a PDF. I'll put it in the post, and I'll pay for the postage, and I'll get it to your letterbox. And then, you can, hopefully it'll impact you in some way and give you the courage to make a change in something that's in your life. So I'm really putting that out there as a gift, my gift to the world in some little way. And then, I'm developing other things. I've got other programs. I've certainly got some coaching programs, some online 2-day events, all sorts of different things that I do to help people evolve their business life. So if people want to connect or even ask a question about things, we can, I'm in Australia, but with the technology that we have now, here I am talking to you on the other side of the planet. So fortunately, as we've evolved in 2022, we can have these conversations with anybody, anywhere, which is really good. And it's enabled me to get my message out to more people. And just LinkedIn and attergy.com. Reach out to me, say hello. Love to talk to people.
Oh, well, there you have it, folks. Head over to attergy.com, and I love that name because it's freaking fabulous, baby. Attitude and energy, baby. That's right. That's right indeed. It's good stuff. It's good with all the O's out of a Cheerios box, y'all. It's good stuff indeed. So be sure to head over to that wonderful site. It'll be in the show notes. Cop some copies of this wonderful book my man Torrin has produced, and keep up with all the stuff that he's doing indeed. So any parting words before we close up shop, my friend?
Be present. Enjoy your life where you're at. I think is another great principle. It's not in my book, but it's something that I try to live by, and it's a challenge. Is that too many of us live in the past and in the future, and we don't live in the present moment. And so I think, if we can get really centered about, and the way I always articulate that is that if you want to impact the outcomes, you need to impact the moments. And the only way you can impact the moments is by being present with whatever it is you're doing. And this is one of the high performance traits of the people that are achieving things, is that very present in what they need to do, no matter what it is. So I think my parting words would be, as a bit of, as I said, it's never just one thing. There's a range of things that we need to do to improve our lives and our business lives. But I think, starting with being present, impacting the moments will impact your outcomes rather than thinking about your outcomes too much.
Thanks a bunch for tuning in and setting aside some of your time to listen to this wonderful podcast, Going North. If you really enjoyed what you heard, do me a solid and share this with your network and someone that you care about that would get something out of it too.